So this is going to be my nursing update. I am in my second to last semester of nursing school. If this is your first time watching my videos, I am in a BSN program, so I will graduate with a bachelor's in nursing. Second to last semester, I technically have like summer school, so I'm counting that as my last semester, but I do graduate in August of this year, so August of 2017. I have a countdown on my phone. So there's 133 days until I graduate, so I'm so excited. So this semester I am in Adult Health 2 and Community Health and Professional Issues. And so Adult Health 2 is my biggest course that I have. It's a total of 13 hours, I think, for this semester. But Adult Health 2 is my biggest course as far as load and clinicals and all of that goes. So Adult Health 2 pretty much covers acute care, acute type of conditions, rather where then Adult Health 1 covered chronic issues. So we're talking more like something needs to be done right now, this person's coming into the hospital, they're in critical condition type of thing. Yeah, I have that class. I have lecture for that class on Tuesdays from 8 to 11, and that is literally the only time I ever go to lecture. So that's kind of nice for this semester, but I have that lecture from 8 to 11, and 90% of our grade for that class comes from test. We have 3 unit exams and then a final, and all of the tests are HESI tests. So if you don't know what that is, that means the state creates our tests, I think, or something like that. Our teacher doesn't create our test, somebody else does. And so if I go back, I remember I saying I necessarily don't like HESI tests, but now I'm I prefer a HESI test only because I know the type of questions they ask and I know the type of answer they're looking for. So when you get used to that style of question, it becomes slightly easier. Obviously you still have to know the material and everything like that, but you just understand HESI better in the sense that you kind of know what's going on. So I've had 2 tests in that class this semester so far. My first one didn't go so hot, but that was also because it was cardiology and respiratory, and it was two other topics as well. I can't necessarily remember. I think it was heme and something else. I don't necessarily remember. So it was a very heavy loaded course test, and so I didn't do too fantastic on that one, but our second test that we took, I did so much better, which I'm surprised about because that's neuro, and sometimes neuro is hard for me to understand, but we did have neuro and then 3 other subjects I obviously don't remember. I think GI and something else, and I did so much better on the second test. So it's good. I just got 2 more tests left in that class, and that's pretty much all we have for that class. I have 5% of my grades come from in-class participation, and then 5% of my grade comes from these case studies, which are just supposed to enhance your knowledge of the subject, but they're really easy to do. So just pretty much got to study pretty hard for the tests in that class. Now the way I study for those tests, and this is the exact same way I study for my Adult 1 test as well, is I use this giant book right here. It is the Saunders Comprehensive Review NCLEX RN exam, and it literally has different topics, and it's a very condensed, very to the point way of studying for each type of disease. So I strongly recommend that you get this book. It is so freaking helpful, and obviously you can use it to study for your NCLEX as well. I got mine off of Amazon. I will put the link to this book down in the bottom bar, but this is how I study for all of my adult health tests. So that's pretty much all for the in-class portion of that test. Now I do have 8 clinicals for that class, and they're 10-hour shifts at the hospital, and so far I've had 4 of them, and I have been on telemetry, neuro, and obs. And so telemetry is pretty much everybody that's on a cardiac monitoring, whether they're there for AFib or they're there because they have to go to the cath lab to get stents or whatever their there for. So it has a lot to do with cardiac monitoring, so I've been on that unit twice, and then I've also been on neuro, which is pretty much like the stroke unit. So individuals who have had strokes, they are over there and they are recovering and all of that kind of stuff. And then I've also been on OBS before too, which is observations. So that unit can pretty much have anything. For the most part, it's somebody who's there for 24 hours to be observed, so that we can either figure out what's going wrong or make sure that nothing's going wrong or anything like that. So most of those patients are there for only 24 hours. So it's a lot of admissions and a lot of discharges going on all the time. And so I enjoy all of those units. I think they're pretty interesting, just to kind of see, that side of care. But my last 4 clinicals will be ICU and ER. And so these are my places that I'm kind of nervous, only because it can be extremely critical care, and the ER can be very, adrenaline and fast-paced and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm also very excited to be able to have that experience and be able to say, I've had experience in the ER, I've had experience in the ICU, and even though that's not necessarily my top priority of a unit to work on, I'm really glad that I'm able to be exposed to that type of stuff. So I can't give you any about what I think about that, only because I haven't had those clinicals yet. So my 4 last ones will be in those units. And yeah, I'm pretty much doing all of the same stuff in those units as I was doing an adult health one. I'm able to do meds and IVs and NG tubes if I need to, and catheters, and just all of that general kind of stuff. Pretty much the only thing I can't do is hang blood. And so yeah, so I like it. It's going good. So my next class that I'm in is community health, and it's pretty much an all online class except for our final. In the beginning of the semester, it was a in-class lecture on Mondays, but nobody was showing up to class, and so our teacher was like, never mind, it's just going to be all online now. So all of our quizzes are online, all of our tests are online, all of our homework period is online, except for the HESI final, that's in class. And so I think it's interesting. Obviously with community health you can do a lot of different type of stuff. As far as the lecture material portion of that goes, it's pretty easy because it's online, and then obviously if it's online your tests and stuff are open note, open book, this type of thing. So it's still really, obviously you have to know the material because there's a final at the end of the semester that you actually have to know what you're doing, but it's pretty easy for the most part, which is nice because adult health too is so heavy of a course. It's nice to have this easier course. There are clinicals for community health. I had 4 clinicals as a school nurse at a high school, which you guys know I absolutely love school nursing, and high school is totally different than elementary. You see a very wide range of stuff, and I actually really enjoyed it. I would love to be a high school nurse, just like I would love to be an elementary one as well, but I honestly love that kind of stuff, so I'm glad I was there. We also had a disaster training thing, so that taught us how to transport people, when you're out in a setting, when you're out in the field, you don't have your stretcher and your backboards and all of that kind of stuff. You have to make do with what you have, and being able to make a tourniquet out of scraps of shirt and a stick, and all of that type of stuff. And so we had a disaster training day. We also have an intimate partner violence training day, and so we'll learn how to deal with that kind of stuff. And then we also have a semester long project that we are doing over a certain zip code. So we went out into that zip code and surveyed the area and interviewed people in that area, and just to kind of get an overall view of the population of that zip code. And that's a group project, and it's a semester long thing. So we also have that for that class. So it's a pretty interesting course. You kind of get to learn all about these other areas that are not necessarily hospital related that you could go in and learn about community health. So it's a pretty interesting class. And then I have a solely online class which is called Professional Issues, and we have no tests or anything like that. for that class. It is just a discussion board post every week on a different thing. So for the first 9 weeks of school, we had discussion boards that had, like, each was a different, like, topic. So for instance, we would get a case study every week, and like it was always on a different subject, whether that was like end of life or, you know, just ethical stuff, and you can't necessarily be wrong when you answer it because it's all opinion. So as long as you find a source that backs up your opinion of that case study and what should have happened or what was done wrong or whatever the situation may be. So we have to do 450 words when we initially respond to the post, and we have to have like a peer-reviewed article source to back up our opinion. And then we also have to do a 250 word response to somebody else's post, and we're like in a small group discussion board thing. There's like 4 total of us in my small group. And so yeah, it's pretty interesting only because you get to see all these case studies that have to make you think about what you would do necessarily in that situation and what your point of view on that, and not everybody is going to agree. And so it's interesting. And then for the last couple of weeks of school, there are presentations that every group is doing. So each week we have 7 presentations that we have to watch, and then we have to post like we have to make a 100-word paragraph discussing what we thought was most interesting about that presentation. So basically it's a 700-word discussion post about the 7 presentations that you watched, and that will be until the rest of the school. Now the only thing that's sometimes hard about this class is we're not allowed to write in first person. So when you're trying to give your opinion on like what you believe or what you found most interesting or something like that, it's kind of weird to try to convey that when you can't use first person. And then sometimes it's definitely hard to find a source that backs up your opinion, and so it's still interesting because it gets you thinking, but that's an online course and that's solely what I'm doing for that. There's no clinicals or anything involved with that. All my clinicals for community are on Wednesdays, and then all of my clinicals for adult health too are either Thursday or Friday or both. And so that's when I usually have clinical. I have lecture at the beginning of the week and then clinicals at the end of the week. And that is pretty much everything that's going on course-wise in my semester. The only thing I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about was I went back and like watched some of my like nursing update videos that I've already done, and I was just like, oh my gosh, you little baby, like, you know, I was just like, wow, I've come such a long way in nursing school and thinking about stuff and ways of thinking and all of this type of stuff. Like, I've become such a better test taker, and I'm much better at taking information and applying it to a situation, when in the beginning I really struggled with that because I was a big like memorization person. So I'm now a lot better of critical thinking and like, what am I going to do in that situation? You know, what's my top priority type of thing. So I've become a much better test taker as the semesters have gone on. I also just come a long way. I'm just so much more calm and confident in my skills. Obviously, it's very nerve-wracking thinking that I'm going to be a real nurse, you know, by myself eventually, but I feel so much more confident in my knowledge and in my skills and everything like that. So I'm really glad that I have those videos to look back on to understand how much progress I have made in just these 2 short years that I've been in nursing school. So it's actually really nice to see that part of it. Graduation is coming up really soon, and we've kind of, you know, starting to get on the topic of jobs and everything like that. So I did go to one recruitment meeting for a hospital that came to our school and talked about the whole application process and everything like that. And it's definitely, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely intimidating, only because you think of the hundreds of people that will be applying for those jobs, and you're like, well, you know, what about me is going to make them pick me, you know? And so it's just a little bit intimidating, just knowing that, you know, you don't know what they're looking for necessarily, or, you know, whatever it's going to be. So it's just, that's kind of nerve-wracking, but it's also very exciting knowing that that time in our life is coming very, very soon, and just getting that whole process started. So I don't really have a whole lot of information on the whole job process and applying to jobs and all that kind of stuff, only simply because it's not necessarily my time yet. That recruitment meeting was basically for the people that are graduating in May, but I was just able to attend it so I can just kind of get a head start on what I need to like get done and all that kind of stuff. But in the summer, that is when we will be discussing like resumes and cover letters and references and all of that stuff that kind of goes in with applying for a job. So I will be able to update you guys more on that whole process in the summer when you watch that update video. So I also am NRP certified officially, and so that is Neonatal Resuscitation. So for instance, now that I'm certified, I could attend a birth of like a neonate or a newborn that could potentially need to be resuscitated. Like for instance, if it's an emergency C-section because the baby's heart rate has just dropped and the baby came out and it's not breathing and the heart rate's like 48 and all of that kind of stuff, I am certified to resuscitate that baby. So I am NRP certified, which I'm super excited about. I was able to do that because I'm in an association at nursing school for newborns and obstetrics, and so my organization provided that opportunity for us, and we were able to sign up and take the course and do all of that stuff to become certified. So that's really awesome, and I'm so thankful that I was a part of that and able to do that and be able to put that on my resume and have that certification in my job. I also want to mention, do you guys remember when I took evidence-based practice and I like hated that class? It's funny, like that class was a disaster only because like the actual class was a disaster. Like our teacher ended up leaving us like 4 weeks before the semester ended, and new teachers came in and they were like, what the heck are y'all doing? And like all of this stuff, it was just a disaster of a class. Like nobody knew what was going on. But now that I am like further in my nursing career, I actually really respect evidence-based practice because it's so much easier when the research says, look, this is the best way to do this to get the best outcome. And it's so much easier following evidence-based practice that you know is going to work, that's the best research, most updated research out there, rather than, you know, doing all of this other stuff that's just, you know, that's just what always been done. You can do stuff that has like, look, this is the research to back it up. So I actually really appreciate and really respect evidence-based practice now that I am further along in my nursing career. Just so you guys know, just to kind of give you a heads up, I will be graduating in August, and then afterwards I will obviously be taking my NCLEX to become, you know, to get my license and everything like that. And then in November is when I'm getting married, and I don't want to be that new employee that's like, oh, hire me, but I need this weekend off and this weekend off, and this weekend I'm getting married, so I need that weekend off, and then I need a week off for my honeymoon. And I just don't really think that that makes a very good impression on, you know, being a new employee, especially being a new grad nurse. So I'm actually putting off getting a job until January, and I was going to do December. I was going to get like a job in December, but I want to kind of be guaranteed one more holiday season with my family and with my, at the time, new husband and everything like that. So I was like, you know, what's one more month? So I will go ahead and I will start applying obviously in like September, October, but I won't actually like have a job until January. So don't expect me to like have a real nursing job until January, just because I want to make the best impression possible, and I don't want to necessarily have to ask off for all of these days because I have a wedding that I have to attend. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up on that. Anyways, I think that's all I have to update you guys as of now. I'm so excited that nursing school is finally coming. You know, the end is in sight. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you guys so much for your support as I've been through this whole process. Some of y'all are like the most amazing people and supporting me just because you either know how nursing school is so hard or you see it in my videos that I am always busy with nursing school. But anyways, I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Love y'all. Mwah. I forgot to mention real quick, I just want to throw this in there, that we also did learn how to do like codes, so like code blue and everything like that, like if someone was in like cardiac arrest or something like that. So we learned how to run codes and do codes, but I have learned how to respond in those situations as well. So I just wanted to like mention that real quick.